Kamala Harris has had 5 chances to answer the question, how are you different than Joe Biden? Here's the first one that I'll play from the middle of September, and then we'll get to the more recent ones as we move through the video.
I wonder if there are 1 or 2 spots, policy areas or approaches where you would say, I'm a different person.
Well, I'm obviously not Joe Biden. And, you know, I offer a new generation of leadership. And so, for example, thinking about developing and creating an opportunity economy where it's about investing in areas that really need a lot of work. And maybe focusing on, again, the aspirations and the dreams, but also just recognizing that at this moment in time, some of the stuff we could take for granted years ago, we can't take for granted anymore. For example, another plan that I have that is a new approach is to expand the child tax credit to $6,000 for young families for the first year of their child's life, because that is obviously a very critical stage of development of a child. And a lot of young parents need the help to buy a car seat or a crib or clothes for their kids. And so my approach is about new ideas, new policies that are directed at the current moment. And also, to be very honest with you, my focus is very much in what we need to do over the next 10, 20 years.
So believe it or not, that might have actually been her best answer of the 5. A lot of rambling at the beginning, a lot of opportunity economy, aspirations, dreams. Then she kind of hit like a very narrow, in the grand scheme of things, a narrow tax policy aimed at new families. That's not a great answer really in the grand scheme of the question, how are you different than Joe Biden? But again, that might have been her best answer. So here she is. This is the second time that she was asked the question that I'm aware of on The View.
Well, if anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Well,
So this is pretty much the moment when people start to realize, what is this answer? How have you and your team not thought of a better answer to this question? And she was asked this as well on Stephen Colbert. She's not given a very good answer at all. I'm not even going to play this one because CBS, and this show specifically, Late Show, I believe it's called, with Stephen Colbert, they're very sticky on the copyright. But thankfully, Brett Baer of Fox News, I'll play this entire clip, he brings that up. So this is basically, at this point, at least Kamala, to my count, 3 times she's had a chance to answer this question. Brett Baer gives her a 4th. Let's see how this goes.
It's interesting you said turn the page, Madam Vice President. You were asked on 2 different shows last week what, if anything, you would do differently than President Biden. Here's what you said.
would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Under a Harris administration, what would the major changes be, and what would stay the same?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm obviously not Joe Biden.
I noticed.
And so that would be one change in terms of, but also I think it's important to say with, 28 days to go, I'm not Donald Trump.
So you're not Joe Biden, you're not Donald Trump, but nothing comes to mind that you would do differently?
Let me be very clear. My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency. And like every new president that comes into office, I will bring my life experiences, my professional experiences, and fresh and new ideas. I represent a new generation of leadership. I, for example, am someone who has not spent the majority of my career in Washington, D.C. I invite ideas, whether it be from the Republicans who are supporting me, who were just on stage with me minutes ago, and the business sector, and others who can contribute to the decisions that I make about, for example, my plan for increasing the supply of housing in America and bringing down the cost of housing, addressing the issue of small businesses, which is about working with the private sector to bring more capital and access to capital to our small business leaders, including my plan for a $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers and for small businesses, extending the tax deduction from $5,000 to $50,000.
We've heard a lot about those plans in recent days.
And so again, similar to her first answer, She takes about a minute of, I'm a different person. I have my own experiences. I'm not from Washington. She takes this incredibly long amount of time to get to a relatively narrow answer again about the first-time home buyer tax credit. Like, it's, again, not very sufficient of an answer, I would say, in the grand scheme of the question. How are you different than Joe Biden? Just little specific tax policies that probably Joe Biden, or at least perhaps, he would implement anyway, just as you go through the changing landscape of politics. I don't understand why her or her team has not thought of a better way to answer this question. And mentioning her team, there's two clips here. I'm only going to show one just to keep the video focused on Kamala. But here is the first one I'm not going to show. But basically, top Kamala surrogate Andy Bashir says, she'll be different because we are all different individuals. Thanks for that. And then here's the other one I will show from a Kamala campaign advisor.
Vice President Harris has been asked repeatedly how she's different than President Biden, and some people think she's been tripped up by answering that. How do you think she is different than President Biden?
Well, first of all, whatever the differences is between them, it's not nearly as vast as the difference between her and Donald Trump. She's obviously a woman. She is a woman of color, and she is of a new generation. She is not Joe Biden, as much as they want to try to make her Joe Biden, but she was and is part of the Biden administration.
Vice President.
So she's a woman of color. Good answer there. Thanks for the insight. Like, that seems to be the main theme these people, the Democratic team, tries to sell people on. Kamala is not Joe Biden. We understand that. Everybody, every human being probably on the entire planet understands Kamala Harris is a different person than Joe Biden. You don't need to say that. You could also say other meaningless facts like, we're sitting in a room right now. I'm on a chair. You're in a chair. Now I'll get to my answer about some narrow tax policy. You don't need to bring up that you're a different person than Joe Biden. And I'll play Kamala's final answer because she gets a fifth kick at the can here. After, by the way, Joe Biden essentially gives her license in this clip to criticize him and his administration. So Joe Biden literally says it here.
Has to cut their own. Every president has to cut their own path. That's what I did. I was loyal to Barack Obama, but I cut my own path as president. That's what Kamala's going to do. She's been loyal so far, but she's going to cut her own path. How to further economic growth. How to keep making it easier to start and grow business. How to make a border more secure. How to make health care even more affordable. How to make housing more affordable. How to make child care and elder care more affordable. All of which, if we do, actually grows the economy and cuts the deficit. Every president has to cut.
So Joe Biden there, and I believe probably this was a strategy by the Democrats to say, hey, Joe, I mean, because he's reading a teleprompter. So it's like basically Joe Biden's teleprompter team making the speech up. Joe Biden, go out there and just say this. So next time Kamala, I'm speculating, but I think these are reasonable assumptions. Next time Kamala's asked this question, give her a little bit of a license to basically criticize your administration. I mean, let's just try to win this election. I'm speaking from the mindset of someone in the Democratic Party. Let's do what we can to win this election. If they want to be a change election, Joe Biden, go out there, tell people, tell everybody, Kamala can criticize me and my administration if she wants. And he did that. Cut your own path, Kamala. So this was yesterday. She's asked again this question. This is her fifth chance to get this right. Let's see what happens.
President Biden said this week that every president has to cut their own path. What is one policy that you would have done differently over these last 3.5 years than President Biden?
I mean, to be very candid with you even including Mike Pence, vice presidents are not critical of their presidents. I think that really actually, in terms of the tradition of it and also just going forward, it does not make for a productive and important relationship.
President Biden said this week that every president has to cut their own path.
So first of all, do you ever know, it looks like she just kind of sits there and waits for like the talking points to come. That's how I interpret a lot of her answers. Like, she brought up the thing about Mike Pence, which doesn't even make any sense really. I don't know what the point of bringing Mike Pence up. He's not running for president. I think that might have been her worst answer of the five. That was essentially a complete nothing burger. She didn't even give any little tax policy. She basically just said, I don't know. I don't know how to answer this question. I'm going to bring up Mike Pence. I don't want to criticize. Even though he said that she's going to cut her own path, this probably was her worst answer. It's like she's getting worse at this question. I do believe that more reporters will keep asking this in the future, in the final, whatever it is, 2.5 weeks of this campaign. I mean, maybe she'll get it right on the 6th try, maybe the 7th try. she'll have a better answer for us. But anyway, with that said, I'll end the video here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about these answers? Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and have a great day.